In this unit of our InDesign CS6 course, we'll build a table of contents for the Adobe Classes section of our Total Training Catalog. But before we do that, we're going to make an assumption here that we're going to get rid of all the extra pages. That we're all the way through the review process, and it's time for us to start assembling our long document. You don't want to make radical changes to pages until you have the layout completely done, all of the copy editing done, and generally all of the work through review as well completed by the end of the process. It's okay if you create extra pages as you're working with these individual documents, small sections of your long documentation, because you could always choose to print just pages 1 through 8. No one else has to know that pages 9 through 17 are still there. But we're going to say, for the sake of argument, we're past that point. And it's time for us to start generating things like indexes and tables of contents. At that point, you want to make sure that your page numbers are done correctly. So what I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to click on page 17. I'm going to go up to page 9 and hold down the Shift key. So I'm going to select all of the pages that have no course descriptions on them. And I'm going to click on this little trash can in the Pages panel to delete those selected pages. I'll get a redundant command here that says, are you sure you want to do this? Because these affected pages contain objects that are not completely blank. They have our folio information. I'm going to say, yes, I absolutely do want to do that. And now, when I go to page 8, what I'll see is that I have all the descriptions on here. Or at least I think I do. I'm not exactly sure because I'll see this little red plus sign is showing down to the lower right. I'm going to click on the right page master page and put one right next to page 8, just like so. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on that little plus with my selection or arrow tool to get the place gun. And then I'm going to click in page 9. Now you'll notice in the place gun it always shows from the exact start of the article. So you never know exactly what's missing until you place it or lay it out on your InDesign document. I'm going to do that, and sure enough, that's completely blank. If I look down here, that little box is blue. It's not red and have a plus in there. So since it's in there and it's actually blue, what this is telling me is that there's no more text after this point. I'm going to get my text tool, and I'm going to highlight from the end of where we're at here on page 9 to just to the right of the period on page 8. When I click the mouse button and hit the backspace key, what it'll do is it'll scoot myself back to the point to where I can see that cursor is just past the period after experience. Now, when I take my selection tool and I click, I'll see there's not a red plus there. There's just a blue with a triangle in there. And what that does is that signifies that there's no extra text to be placed to this linked text frame right over here. I can click on this and delete it. When I click here, I can see that box is now entirely empty. I'm going to click on page 9, and then I'm going to hit Delete Selected Pages. And when I do that, it'll get rid of that extra page. I'll see that empty box is right there, and I've got the entire article. Now that we've got all of our layout done, we can start assembling things like global functions, tables of contents, indexes. To demonstrate that in this unit of our InDesign CS6 course, we're actually going to build that table of contents. I'm going to go to page 1 to where that's supposed to be located. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Layout pull-down menu, and I'm going to select Table of Content Styles. What this does is this allows me to set how I want my table of contents to appear. I'm going to create a new table of content style, and what we're going to do is we're going to call this TOC chart. I'll explain why we're going to create more than one style here in just a little bit. Now what I want that to be is I want it to be the list for my Adobe classes. So I'm going to change the contents to Adobe classes. Style of paragraph style. I can pick any of these that I have available right now. I'm going to say header, no new page. So that's the size and format that will be. Okay, now entry style deals with how the table of contents information is going to be set up. If I go over here, I'll see again I have all of the paragraph styles that I've created and loaded in, including a new one called Table of Contents Body Text. But we're going to create a brand new one. And this paragraph style, we're going to name it, not paragraph style 1, but we're going to call it TOC pages. I'm going to go down here to my drop caps and nested styles. We're going to set it up so whatever the course is will be bold, but the page number is actually going to be bold italic. So I'm going to click on drop caps and nested styles. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a brand new nested style by clicking on this new nested style button right here. When I do, it gives me an options box that I can select to say that I want a body copy bold or body copy italic character style like we created before, or I can create a brand new character style, and that's what I want to do. In this case, what I want to do is I want to take that basic character formats, I'm going to make it times. If you don't have times on your machine, you can select Times New Roman. I'm going to make it bold. I'm going to make it 12 points on 14-point leading. I'm not going to change the advanced character formats or any other colors or anything like that. And I'm going to name this character style TOC course. Say OK. And now I'm going to change that from 1, I could put any number here, word, to 1 tab character. So the point to where a tab character is entered, that creates the dot leader. I'll build that in just a little bit. It's going to run this in, and I'm going to create a new nested style. That next nested style is going to be a new character style as well. It's going to be based on my TOC course, and it's going to be named TOC page number. I'll just put the score there for page number. The basic character format is going to be times bold italic 12 on 14. Now I could change any of a number of things. I could make the type different colors. I've got all kinds of things I can do here. We're not going to do anything more than this right now. I'm just going to say OK. And I'm going to change the words to forced line break. So wherever it puts in a return at the end of a paragraph where I hit the return key and creates a new paragraph, or if I do like a shift enter to do a line break, it will automatically stop with that style that I'm working with. And it'll repeat across the lines all the way through here. So my TOC pages is going to be bold 12 on 14 through the tab, and then it's going to be bold italic for the page numbers to the forced line break. All I've got to do now is set the tabs, and in my case the indents as well. So I'm going to go to the tabs layout, and I'm going to bring the left side indent in 0.125 or 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to set a right align tab at 2 7/8 or 2.875 inches. I'm going to put a dot leader in there, and I'm going to say it's time to check out the general layout. What it is, it's going to be body copy, lift indent at 1/8 of an inch. There's 1 tab loaded in. Okay, it's positioned at 2 7/8 inches. It's got a dot leader. Alignment's going to be set to the right for the tab. Okay, there are 2 nested styles. The TOC course, which is the bold 12 on 14 times, through to the 1 tab character. At that point, it will switch to the TOC page number character style through one forced line break. If your style settings look just like everything I've described here, click the OK button, and we will have created our TOC pages style, and that's what will be used for the entries that are loaded in. Now, just as we had before, we can create PDF bookmarks so that anything that we set in our table of contents will automatically be created as a bookmark in our PDF files. If we've already had one created, we could replace the existing table of contents, and we could include book documents. So when we're actually creating the long document catalog at the end of this, it could have all of the individual InDesign documents that create that long documentation we're building. We're going to say OK. And as we do, it says, oh, I must use one or more of the paragraph styles in order to create the table of contents. I forgot to put in what styles I want to be, the course titles, for the table of contents. So I'm going to add header. I'm going to add the header with no new page. And I'm going to say OK. When I do that, it's going to create my TOC chart. I'm going to say OK. Now I'm actually going to create a table of contents by going to Table of Contents, and all those rules for the TOC chart, the title Adobe Classes, the header information we've got loaded in, the entry style that we built for the paragraph styles, including those character styles that are associated with it. We're going to say OK, and when we do, it's actually going to create our table of contents for me automatically. Now, that's the good news. What's often the not so good news is when you click on it, sometimes it doesn't format exactly the way you'd like it to. In this case, it did. We're actually doing pretty well, although we may want to do a little bit of fine-tuning. Like, for example, in this area where we've got the Adobe Acrobat Pro Essentials, I might want to go Type, Insert Break Character, and put in what's called a forced line break, so I can actually pop that down just a little bit for the page number, give a longer dot leader. I've got some areas that are worse, but that one's pretty close, so I'm just going to do that right here. And when I do, it breaks that down and gives me a little bit of space you can see between them. I'm going to do the same thing here between CS5 and Essentials. This time just going Shift-Enter, or Shift-Return if you're working on a Mac like we are for this chapter of our InDesign CS6 course. I'm going to take the design workflow, Shift-Enter. Going to take the Essentials, Shift-Enter. Going to do the same thing with Select Topics below for Flash Catalyst. Let me grab one more of them. I'm going to take the Adobe Flash CS5, and I'm going to put a software term before Professional Essentials. That looks pretty good. I'm going to put an extra space here before the Acrobat 10 page number and the header, just by placing my cursor before that A for Adobe and hitting the Enter or Return key, depending on whether I'm on a PC or a Mac keyboard. And then I'm going to click into this, and I'm actually going to align that over to the left. So in this case, I'm going to left align it. I'm going to go to Paragraph Style. And in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a paragraph style for it. So based on my header, no new page, I'm going to create a new style. Double click on that. And this style is going to be named TOC sub header. Say OK. And as I do that, now everything's lined up to build the way I'd like it to be. I have a picture I'm going to put on this page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to deselect that text frame, and I'm going to go Command-D on the Mac, Control-D if I'm on a Windows PC. And I'm going to place this Two Folks Computer Graphics file by just double-clicking on it. In this case, because I had that Show Import Options, it gives me the ability to apply clipping paths if I wanted to knock that out. Or if I don't, I can turn that off. I also have the ability to set rules for color. We're not going to do any of that here. I'm just going to say OK. And when I do, I'm going to click on this picture, place it at 1 inch. Go Command Shift on the Mac, and that's Control Shift on Windows. And scale this down and to the right proportionately so it fits just like so. I'm going to bring down my text frame just like this and see how well this fits. It actually fits pretty fair. So with that table of contents built, I'm just going to go File, Save. You can use your keyboard shortcut Command or Control S. And now we've got our table of contents built. I'm going to go to the master pages. Remember, when you're working with long documentation, it works very well if you can change some element you can see on every page. So in this case, I'm going to go to that circle that was yellow down to the lower right of the master pages, and I'm going to make it cyan. Go File, Save. And now I've got the latest version of this saved with all the work, including the table of contents I've built, inside this section of our Total Training Catalog.